Welcome, one and all, back to the Viper's Nest. And I think I got something pretty cool for you guys today. I'm gonna use my teeny tiny little YouTube light to shine a light on another better YouTube channel. So, today I'm briefly gonna be discussing a theory put forth, the guy who made the video didn't put forth the theory, a different guy did, but the guy who made the video, his name is Zayf The Scholar, and I will link his video in the description of this video, and he dives into some Elden Ring translation from the original Japanese that was put forth by a theory by a guy named Tomato-san? Tomato-chan? I don't remember. Zayf knows, Zayf can tell you, but it's a really interesting theory. So here it goes. So the theory is that the Tarnished that you play as in Elden Ring is actually a demigod. And the reasoning for this theory is both a slight mistranslation from some original Japanese dialogue and some very subtle context clues you find in the opening cinematic of Elden Ring. So basically in the opening cinematic, if you really listen really hard, when your Tarnished is waking up, you hear the sounds of stomping, the sounds of a bell ringing, and the sounds of some strange animal cries. So, going into that, those clues point to the fact that your character may or may not be waking up in one of the walking mausoleum thingamabobs. And in the original Japanese dialogue of a ghost you meet, I think, on the Weeping Peninsula, he talks about how the walking mausoleums contain the soulless corpses of America's illegitimate children. Now, in the original Japanese, there's never a gender given in this sentence, but in the English translation, they specifically refer to the soulless demigod inside the mausoleum as a he, which led a lot of people to thinking they were talking about Godwin the Golden. But they're not. They're specifically talking about these weird headless corpses you find inside these mausoleums. So, waking up in the mausoleum and being able to do everything your Tarnished does in the course of the video game points toward them being a demigod. And I think that's a pretty fucking cool theory, and that goes a long way to explaining some of the stuff they're able to do, like taking down Mr. Ultimate Badass Star Scourge Radahn, aka General Radahn, aka Big Daddy Radahn, aka Raid Boss Radahn, which is... Okay, I'm using the picture of Radahn because I'm going to hard focus on Radahn here for a minute, right? And I'm going to try to explain to you, if you're not up on the lore, what an absolute Herculean feat it is to take down Radahn. Now, in the Radahn fight, one, you're not fighting Radahn in his prime, and two, they give you a whole host of summons that you can pull out to be able to fight Radahn. Now, you can solo Radahn. I did it once. Honestly, I have no intention of ever doing it again. So you're definitely not fighting Radahn in his prime, but even Radahn not in his prime is a fucking monster. Alright, we're going to dive a little bit into the lore of Radahn here. If you're interested in further detail, I recommend you check out someone like VatiVidya for the more specifics. So, Radahn is one of the children of Radahn and Rennala. I think he is the youngest child, but he's also, well, I mean, he's not the biggest anymore if you look at Rykard, but we're not talking about Rykard because fuck Rykard, I hate that guy. Anyway, so Radahn is a demigod. He's the child of Radahn and Rennala. Very badass warrior. So, Radahn idolized Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, which is his mom's ex-husband. Radahn is Marika. Whatever, we're not going to go into that. So anyway, he idolized Godfrey, and he wanted to grow up to be just like Godfrey. And you know what? I fucking think he did. Radahn turned into an absolute badass. A huge, strong, tough, peerless warrior. But he didn't stop there. So, when you fight Radahn, you might notice the comically small horse he's riding around on. So that horse is Leonard. And that's Radahn's favorite horse. Like, Leonard is the Bucephalus to Radahn's Alexander the Great. So as Radahn started growing in size, he realized very quickly that he wouldn't be able to ride Leonard into battle anymore, and that absolutely broke his fucking heart. So he went to, I can't remember if he went to Raya Lucaria or the town of Celia, one of the two, and he learned gravity magic for the sole purpose of still being able to ride Leonard into battle. Which is just, that is so fucking wholesome. But also, Radahn didn't stop there. I don't remember the actual context to why he did this, but what I believe it boils down to is he learned that Ranni's fate was tied to the movement of the stars. And I don't remember if he agreed with Ranni's fate or disagreed or learned that Ranni didn't want to go with her fate. I don't know, it's murky because it's Elden Ring lore, and I'm not up on all of it. But basically, Radahn went, oh, so Ranni's fate is tied to the movement of the stars? Okay. I'll just halt the fucking stars. Now, I'm also not a scientist, but this is another murky thing, but this is what I think happened, right? So, obviously, Radahn didn't stop the planet from rotating because there's still a day-night cycle in the lands between. But the stars don't move anymore, which means Radahn halted the movement of the entire fucking galaxy. All right, let me put that in perspective for you real quick, right? So, old canon Star Wars, right? Luke moved a black hole once, which is pretty fucking impressive. He did that with the Force. And then there's counts of, Sith Lords cracking planets in half with the Force and causing stars to go supernova and shit like that. That's fucking impressive. But Radahn force-gripped the entire galaxy to stop it from moving. And then the shattering happened. Radahn fought Melania and I guess kind of lost-ish. Melania kind of cheated. She had the backing of the outer god of rot. And as far as I know, Radahn didn't have the real backing of any outer god. So it was just Radahn on his own fighting a god-possessed Melania, who was also a badass warrior in her own right. So she hit Radahn with the Scarlet Rot. Now, if you haven't played Elden Ring, Scarlet Rot is kind of the Elden Ring equivalent of, Rapid Poison from Dark Souls, if you're familiar with that. There's a whole bunch of other lore to it that I'm not going to go into, but the Scarlet Rot is a real bad thing. And if you get hit with Scarlet Rot, if you don't cure it with the preserving boluses or, cleansing magic or some shit like that, you will very rapidly die. Within a few minutes of getting hit with the Scarlet Rot. Radahn kept fucking going. I want to say by the time the game Elden Ring takes place, it's been 500 years or something like that. And Radahn is still kicking around 500 years later, getting rotted from the inside out and driven insane by the Scarlet Rot. And by the time you show up to fight him, there's this thing called the Radahn Festival, which I want to say is a yearly thing where a bunch of warriors get together to all go and try to put Radahn out of his misery. And this should demonstrate the amount of fucking respect Radahn has in the universe, because everybody shows up to this Radahn Festival. You've got Iron-Faced Alexander, you've got Blythe the Half-Wolf, which is Ranni's shadow, you've got Finger Maidens, Patches kind of shows up but then pieces out. You've got Bloody Finger Okina there. People from groups that would never fucking work together, ever, all show up in agreement to try and take Radahn down. And I want to say they're on attempt 500 and something by the time your Tarnished gets there. So he's been rotting and going insane and killing people left and fucking right for 500 years. At this point. And you know what he's still doing? He's still using gravity magic to protect his horse, because his horse is his homie, and he's using gravity magic to still halt the movement of the fucking galaxy, and still has enough left in him to give your Tarnished the absolute fucking fight of their life. God damn, Radahn. My boy, my dog. Respect. this has to put Radahn in, like, the fucking absolute top tier, some of the strongest fucking video game characters there's ever been, ever. And yeah, like I said, he's still out there, still protecting his horse. Like, every time he's about to do, like, one of his big moves that might hurt Leonard, he'll, like, gently move Leonard out of the way or kind of, like, stuff him under the sand a little bit, like, Leonard, you have to get down, Leonard. I'm about to do the big swing, Leonard. Ah! Yes, Radahn has a Schwarzenegger accent, and no, you will never convince me otherwise. So, that is how much of a fucking monster Radahn is, that he's basically doing all of this shit while insane and on life support. But, back to the original point. Your Tarnished shows up, and if you are strong and skilled enough, yes, you can solo Radahn with no help. That is how insanely powerful that your Tarnished is. So I think it makes absolute fucking sense that your Tarnished is, in fact, a demigod of some point. Because there's other Tarnished out there that have, you know, finger maidens that allows them to, you know, use the runes to become more powerful. But none of them were ever able to take down Radahn or Melania. So what's the difference between your Tarnished and other Tarnished? Like, you meet multiple other Tarnished who had finger maidens, like, Zayf the Dragon Spear was a Tarnished. I don't know if he ever fought Radahn or not, but, you know, he tried to become Elden Lord and failed because, well, okay, Zayf failed because he fell to the Frenzied Flame because, if I remember correctly, he didn't want to sacrifice his finger maiden to the fucking giant fire to burn down the Erd Tree. But the fact remains that there's all these other Tarnished that have failed to become Elden Lord. Like, as far as I know, Godfrey was the last Elden Lord before you showed up. So all the other Tarnished that ever tried failed because they weren't strong enough or for outside context reasons. But yours succeeded in one form or another, whichever fucking ending you decide to go with, you know, you win. So it makes sense that your Tarnished, for reasons unknown, is a cut above the rest, which I think then leads into your Tarnished possibly being a demigod, illegitimate child of America. It's a really cool fucking theory, I thought, so I figured I'd shine some light on it, and my boy Radahn, and go check out Zayf The Scholars' video, which will be linked in the description below. Thank you for listening. A like and a subscribe would sure be appreciated. I'll see you on the next episode, and as always, have yourself a wonderful day.